intersections in the vicinity of the project.
Of up to 44 standards. It laughably states that the views are still visible and that there are slivers that are removed, as if you could take 44 standards and look around them. And that's what the report asks us to do. And in fact, you should have put up story poles, and you didn't do that because to do so would show the neighborhood and the entire community what it would look like to have a height of 80 feet on eight of these poles. I'm going to briefly talk about CEQA, which requires a mandatory finding of significance for a project with possible environmental effects, which may be individually limited but cumulatively considerable. The combination of light pollution, sky glare, aesthetics, noise, traffic, public safety concerns, and the inadequately reviewed biological resources of our community require a CEQA-mandated statement of overriding considerations. The NUSD Board of Trustees must provide to the community specific reasons why the project benefits outweigh all of the many adverse impacts. The project clearly fails to meet CEQA certification standards concerning the noted significant impacts and resulting environmental degradation versus the need for stadium lights. As you are aware, Marin County planners last week came out against an almost identical stadium lights project planned at Marin Catholic. Our community is confronting the same issues here in Novato, however, without the civic oversight which the affected neighborhoods deserve but are being denied because of NUSD's decision pursuant to Government Code Section 53094 to opt out of the city and county ordinances which provide necessary protections for our community. The basis for the legal decision which allowed NUSD to opt out, that is, that an athletic field is somehow an extension of the classroom, is a concept, and I'm just going to summarize here, is a concept which is not considered settled law in this state. And I bring this up because NUSD is likely signing up to defend a lawsuit if you move forward with this project. In conclusion, I ask you, does this EIR attempt to meaningfully explore the issues a project of this scope demands, and do you as elected officials who are responsible for the decisions and you are answerable to the community you represent believe you have the right to ignore the significant negative impact on citizens who live in the neighborhoods surrounding San Marin High? And I believe the answer is no. Thank you.
Okay, the next three is Kathy Janani, Tricia Anderson, and Melissa Howell. Excuse me.
I'm Kathy Janani, and I live on San Felipe Way. While the EIR has stated that there will be no adverse impact to the visual aesthetics in the surrounding neighborhoods, I beg to differ. The ERI states a few single family residences on San Ramon Way to the north have direct southward views looking down on the stadium. In fact, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of homes that will see both the infrastructure, the poles and the fixtures, and the lighted apparatus. Those would be readily apparent during daylight hours. The EIR documents that these effects would be less than significant. This is their opinion. How is this opinion more significant than or better than a resident who has been here almost 30 years? To equate the height and significance of the light poles with the surrounding field posts, goalposts, and flagpole on the field is nonsensical. When the district decided not to erect one or more story poles or use a crane to simulate the height, they missed a significant opportunity to truly see the impact of these towers. One of the alternatives that would have been free and easy would have been the Novato Fire District to come out to the field or San Ramon Drive and raise their aerial ladder to the 80-foot level. Additionally, as you are aware, an on-site biological resource study was not completed for the project. This raises multitude questions that have not been adequately answered with regard to wildlife impact. A few alternatives listed in the EIR did not include the option for portable electric lighting to extend the field use time. This should have been considered for the practice fields. The section within the EIR that describes traffic and parking states where on-campus parking facilities may not be sufficient, parking demand for evening stadium events may need to be accommodated in the surrounding neighborhoods. There is no doubt that the surrounding neighborhoods will be heavily impacted by the influx of vehicles. The traffic and parking appendix contained within the EIR is potentially flawed. The methodology used for calculating the trip generation rates for high school sports stadiums is not available per the author. The plan calculates the parking needs for the average game, says that surrounding streets can accommodate 623. Just to summarize, it could end up being up over 1,000. And where's the mitigation for that? Lastly, the noise cannot be mitigated, and this is a key to significantly a good reason not to certify this EIR. So I am asking you to please listen to everyone's concerns and learned public opinions and exercise the proper response to reject this EIR. Thank you.
Tricia Anderson, and if you could please hold to the 3 minutes. I don't want to be rude and cut you off, but it just helps move the meeting along. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tricia Anderson. I will be short and sweet. I don't have anything written down. I live on Spruce Place, which is immediately adjacent off of San Marin Drive to the field in question, and I'm here in support of the stadium lights. I could give you a ton of reasons, many of which have already been stated, why this is a good thing for the city of Novato. Our youth are our future. They're the most important thing that we have and that we can look forward to. San Marin High School has been in its geographic location prior to many of these homes. And as people have moved into the community, myself being one of them, I moved knowing that I was moving into a community where there was a high school next door. For me, it was a selling point. For me, I enjoy opening my windows on a Saturday afternoon or even on a Thursday evening and hearing kids playing next to me. It's positive energy. It promotes strong academics with the kids. Sports, contrary to what some may think, is a very important part of the academic process from my perspective. If we can bolster our sports program in any way by adding stadium lights, and that keeps kids going to school in our community and being active in our community. It gives people an opportunity, families an opportunity to come out on a Friday night as a family and enjoy sporting events in their local community. The positives, just from a social aspect, are just immeasurable. So I understand there's all sorts of studies, all sorts of things to look at. I trust those individuals whose profession it is to evaluate this information. I trust the reports that they prepare, and I hope that you vote in support of this certification. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you guys need to please refrain from shouting out. Thank you. The next three are Russ Dodge, Carolyn Dodge, and Ross Sargent. And before I says Melissa Howell? Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Melissa Howell, and I'm a resident of Novato. My son attends first grade at San Ramon Elementary School, and I'm a science teacher at San Marin High School. I also attended the field trip to see the lights in San Mateo. I appreciate the time and effort the board has taken to understand all sides of the argument surrounding the field lights at San Marin High School. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the lights. As a teacher, countless instructional hours are lost when students must leave class early to go to a game. I've heard that community members have been worried about instructional minutes being used in class discussing the lights at San Marin, and this gives me great hope that these concerned people truly understand the impact of lost class time, which these lights will help alleviate. Class time is very precious, and lights will keep the students in class where they will get the most benefit out of the hard-earned taxpayer money that supports the school. Personally, I've used the Environmental Impact Report as a source of material for my environmental science course. I taught my students what an EIR is used for. They research material based directly on the report, and prepared speeches as part of a project-based learning unit that directly related to several next-generation science standards, including Earth and human activity and engineering design. I'm very proud of the students that are here tonight and hope you value their input. As a parent, I want my son, future Mustang class of 2028, to have the opportunity to attend a high school that values both education and athletics. I also want him to attend a school that feels like it's part of the community and where community members are welcomed. I think having Friday night football games is a great way to encourage Novato residents to come watch a game, chat with neighbors, and see what a great group of kids we have here. So many times people are quick to judge teenagers without actually getting to know them. I can speak from experience. Our students at San Marin are intelligent, kind, and will someday be our future leaders. Let's lead the way for them now in supporting their academic and athletic endeavors by providing lights for the football field. It will send a message that Novato values community, education, and is not scared of change. Change is good, necessary, and beneficial. We will have a stronger community, both in Novato and at San Marin, with the addition of these lights. Thank you.
My name is Russell Dodge. I live on San Ramon Way. You should not accept this EIR because it is defective. It would take well over 3 minutes to give you all the reasons, but here are the major ones. As you've heard before, a proper biological study was not done, despite this being a legal requirement. This is a matter of fact, not opinion. A proper photometric study was not done. Also a fact. I know you have a letter from Michael Graff that you received by email today that discusses this in detail, so I won't say any more on it. However, there's something else. The alternatives listed did not meet the minimum requirements for alternatives. Those requirements are that they be feasible, would feasibly obtain most of the basic objectives of the project, would avoid or substantially lessen any of the project's significant effects. None of the alternate sites considered were evaluated on the basis of meeting some of the project alternatives, but not all. This is required where a significant effect has been identified. It was an all or none evaluation of every site, and this is not appropriate. Accepting what you know is a defective EIR would be a terrible mistake, as well as a slap in the face to the community that supported this district for years.
I have okay. Caroline's. So this is Ross?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ross Sargent, and as a public servant myself, I want to thank you for your service to our community. I was born and raised here in Novato, California, graduated from San Marin High School a very long time ago. One of our children attends there right now, another is en route. Interestingly, my family and I had a unique perspective based on our recent stationing back on the East Coast. I returned. We all returned from a couple years in the national capital region, Washington, D.C. We lived in the Annapolis area, and in that region, we observed firsthand the myriad benefits of lighted fields, the versatility, safety, academic enhancement, and community building aspects were a source of great pride and benefit for citizens of all ages throughout all those neighborhoods. I believe our community would benefit similarly here, and I respectfully urge you to vote in favor of the San Marin Stadium lights. Thank you very much.
All right, the next three, I believe it's Carson Henry, and am I correct? And yeah, looks like I am. Eric Grover and Jose Ochoa.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the Board of Education for listening to our opinions regarding the installation of field lights. My name is Carson Henry. I'm a junior attending San Marin High School. As a student, I've watched my classmates leave classrooms during the day for their game preparations. Instead of missing classes, we believe that field lights will give my peers the full day of learning so that they can also focus on their sport at night. The draft EIR states on page 25 that the field lights will be turned off by 8 p.m. most weeknights for practice and stay up until 8:30 p.m. on Thursday nights for 8 freshman football games and for 8 varsity football games, with 1 additional Friday night for Powder Puff. This means that there will only be 9 Friday nights that the lights will be on until 8:30 p.m. This seems very reasonable. There are 52 Friday nights in a year. We would like to have lights for 9 of them, leaving 43 nights that the lights would be off by 8 p.m. if they are used at all. We understand the concerns of residents not getting enough sleep or shade, so we asked ourselves, how can they get their daily beauty sleep? We have multiple solutions to offer you today. One of which we found most effective was cheap sleeping masks, which could be purchased at your local convenience store, such as Target or even Dollar Tree, for example. Blackout curtains and blinds are also efficient and can add a new touch to your home. These are offered at numerous stores, for instance, Walmart or Home Depot. And if the commute to these stores is an issue, they are also available online with even more choices to select from. In conclusion, we'd hope the administration will choose the best interests for students and the community. Getting lights for our field is a step forward, changing the school and building a better community. We leave you 2 words of endless gratitude. Thank you.
Hi, Eric Grover. I live on Sandy Creek behind San Marin High School in an area that will be able to see the lights. I'm here to add my support for the lights. Any project like this is going to raise some concerns, and the neighbors who are opposed to the lights have raised a number of concerns that are valid. But what you have to do is look at the overall benefit to what you're trying to do. Does the benefit to the community override some of those concerns? I think they do. I think we need to go forward with the lights. With regard to the question of tonight, with whether or not to certify the EIR, I'm in favor of that. The presentations by the attorney from Atkinson Anderson and the consultant have demonstrated that all of the legal steps necessary to perform an EIR that should be certified have been met. And we're not answering the question of whether or not the light should be approved, just whether or not the certification should move forward. And it's clear that all legal steps have been taken to certify the EIR, and we should move forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before you continue, hold on. The next 3 are Ken Levin, Marco Damari, and Colleen Cornell. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jose Ochoa. I'm a varsity lacrosse player at San Marin High School, currently junior year. LED lights are the most intelligent way to illuminate the stadium without the harmful rays produced by the sun. When compared to incandescent lights, LED lights are better for the environment as they last longer and use less energy, as said by the presentation. There would be a substantial money saving by powering the field lights with the LED lights when compared to incandescent lights. The field lights will help during hot weather by making the games available in the evening, thus removing the situation of players overheating during the middle of the game, when the sun is at its full potential as well. The stadium lights could also decrease the potential of students and spectators developing skin cancer from exposure to sunlight, since the games will be played in the evenings when the sunlight is either not as dangerous or non-existent. The nightlife in Nevada would also be improved due to people having somewhere to go in the evenings. Lights will only cover the field and families watching. The lights should not bother the neighbors unless you look up all the way at the lights and you don't look up at the sun. These lights aren't any different, so we hope you vote yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ken Levin, and I am against the Lights Project, and I hope you do not certify the FEIR because I do think it's defective. I'd like to read a quote from Michael Graff, a letter that was sent to you today. He's the attorney for the Coalition to Save San Marin. In that letter, he disputes some information that Mr. Leiter gave you from the Rincon Group, and I think it's important because it goes to the classification of the neighborhood to the north of the school as either zone E3 or E2. Mr. Graff says, the actual definition for the E2 zone is not, as Mr. Leiter said, sparsely inhabited rural areas, but instead areas of low ambient brightness, outer urban or rural residential areas. In contrast, the E3 zone is defined as areas of medium ambient brightness, urban residential areas. Now, the area at Hillside High was E3. I sent you a density map showing there's a significant density difference between the area around Hillside High and Novato area, and I do think, based on lighting experts I have spoken to and research I've done, that E2 is the proper zone, and I do suggest you not accept what Rincon says just at face value, and I'm going to give you examples of where they've really failed. They did discount many of the ER comments as opinions. When I challenged Rincon in my letter, which is number 137, for not properly disclosing the design light intensity of the project, it said, and I'm quoting, the draft EIR does not report the illumination design level for the proposed project. How can an EIR about lights projects fail to disclose the planned intensity of the lights? How can I do that? So Rincon withheld this information in the initial EIR, and they tried to dismiss my assertion by claiming in response 137.3 that the commenter states an opinion that the illumination design level at Hillsdale High is 40-foot candles and that the illumination design level at San Marin High School would be 50-foot candles. That's true. How do I know it's true? The Carducci report on page 16 shows that the design level of the San Marin project was 50-foot candles. And the preliminary photometric analysis, which is not a photometric analysis, it was based on 50. Look at the grids in the little football area, and you'll see all these numbers in the 50s. You have defective, incomplete information. You cannot make a proper decision if you want to be adequately informed. The IF-EIR cannot be certified with these basic and fundamental emissions if it's to be compliant with CEQA. Rincon claims the project is properly classified according to CEI Zone E3, and yet they use a spillover light standard of 2-foot candles instead of the 0.8-foot candles suggested by CEIE for Zone E3. If the zone is E2, that standard is 0.3. That means the permitted amount of light spillover is 250% if they use the 2-foot candle standard versus 0.8 and 666% if they use 0.3. I submitted many of these comments to you in writing. I don't have time within my 3 minutes to go through them. One of them I will certify and I'll close. I physically measured the sound noise from football games at San Marin High during the daytime to be over 80 dB at my home. If you look at those tables in the EIR, they are defective. I am an engineer, and I've got experience working with sound calculations. It is a faked body of evidence. It's what they call fake news. Thank you.
Marco Damari, excuse me.
Yes, hi. Hello, I'm Marco Damari, and I'm a junior at San Marin High School. I play varsity football, and I'm on the varsity track team, and we think our school and community will benefit from the lights. From the last meeting, we've heard some people assume that the majority of teenagers drink and do drugs. Hearing this hurts us because we know it's easy to assume outrageous things, but truth is we go to the games to support our school, friends, and just have a great time. The games aren't for just students. It's for everyone, like our family and teachers and everyone, to have a good time. We hear and understand your concerns, but I would like to address a few points. I've heard some concerns that traffic will build up in Novato, but when there's an event like this, most people carpool together with family or friends. So, logically, there won't be massive traffic if that's a big concern for you. These games will not be every day as well. It's only a few days during the month when there actually be night games. Another big issue, it seemed to be for others, was safety. We are very lucky to live in Marin because it is a safe community. There were concerns that there will be drinking and drug use with adding field lights. It is unlikely for this to occur with neighboring streets, but it is something that can easily be solved. We can easily have staff or police patrol these areas if it becomes a problem. In the draft EIR, page 22, it states the district would assign staff to handle security, crowd concerns, and litter removal at home athletic events. These field lights are for games, and we will not be having games every night. The school needs lights, and if we have minor problems, we can find a solution rather than not have lights for just a few people when our entire school and families need these lights. Thank you for listening. And also, this isn't about just ourselves. It's about people coming together and becoming a better community. Thank you.
Before you begin, let me just address the next three are Lauren Mancuso, Thomas Turk, and Chris Eddy.
My name's Colleen Cornell, and I am a parent of a Samarin student. She's a junior. I was blessed to grow up in Novato and graduate from Samarin myself, as well as move back and raise my kids here. I'm here to support the project. My student has missed school to attend her athletic endeavors, which I fully support. Sports for kids, I think they perform better in school. I think it's a foundation that is as important as academics for kids' development. And although I can appreciate the neighbors' concerns, and having grown up here myself and seen so many changes in Novato and understand change is hard, I think it's also a good thing, and it'll build our community, and I hope that you will support it.
Hi, my name is Lauren. Thank you for taking the time to listen to all of our comments and use them to, as how you're going to end up deciding. I am actually here to read something that a friend of mine had written. I have children that play sports, and this friend of mine does not have any kids that play sports. She is working late tonight. She wasn't able to be here, so I decided to read it. It's a great kind of different point of perspective. This is what she writes. I appreciate your time and consideration in approving lights for Samarin. I am a mother of 2 boys, one of which was just accepted to attend the biotech STEM program in August, and my younger son will start 6th grade at Sinaloa. My boys aren't your typical teenage athletes. They don't play team sports. They enjoy biking, skateboarding, running, and fitness. They just never felt the desire to play field sports. They do, however, love to feel a part of a community, and they cheer for those teams that do play. To them, it's their way of being a part of the team. When we are in the stands, feeling the excitement during an evening game at a school that has lights, there is a different feeling from a spectator's standpoint. You actually have the thrill and excitement of being under those lights, even though you're watching from the sidelines. Because my kids don't participate in programs that require the lighting for practices, conditioning, and such, I can't properly express the need for them on that term. Although I am fully aware of the great enhancement it will have for the kids, parents, and staff at the school. What I can tell you is that approving the lights for Samarin is absolutely crucial for allowing my boys and other non-traditional sports kids like them the value of being a part of the Novato community and even more importantly, a part of their school. Please approve these lights for all of us. It's not just for sports families. Thank you.
All right, Thomas Turk. In the interest of brevity, I'm going to go ahead and actually cut out a lot of what I wanted to talk. I'll go ahead and bring it up on the May 30th day. I will say I'm a class of San Marin class of 81, so I'm not a stranger here to the issues at hand. But I want to stand in solidarity with Mrs. Gannons and the others that have urged you to say no for reasons that have already been enumerated, so I don't want to waste time here. It is a flawed EIR. I'll just cut it short at that. STEM, not stadium. The youth are our future, but let's make sure we give them the best education we can. Thank you.
Let me just read off the next three before you begin. Keith Parker, Mike Giannini, and Kathy Giannini.
Ready, set, go.
Go, sorry.
Hi, my name is Chris Eddy. I am a resident on 56 Samarin Drive, so the impact here does affect me very greatly because from the 20-yard line over, that's where I look. When my just about to be wife and I purchased the house 4 years ago, a little bit over 4 years ago, we anticipated we're going to be living next to a high school, which is great. I grew up in WC, but the effect and the impact that it will have on our short community end right there is, first off, the Rincon people have never approached us on asking us what it would look like from our property over to the field. So that was kind of a mistake, I believe, on your end. The other thing is that the 80-foot stanchion light system, did you know that those actually are going to stand up higher on the football field, not to the ground level where we are, so that's you're going to have to add another 10, 15, possibly 20 feet to that. So our view of the hill behind there that I love to run on, and Mount Burdell, since I've known for many, many years, is now going to be affected by its, we're just not going to have those views anymore. And as far as this is just for the EIR tonight, I don't want to get into the whole other thing. Just the fact that it just came about so quickly, upon us, I don't think that we would have purchased our property if we knew this was going to start happening. So that's all I have to say tonight.
Hello, Keith Parker. I live on Sutro, right across. I'm a neighbor for your Pleasant Valley School. And lifelong Marin County resident, the last 30 years have been, or last 20 years have been here in Novato. I had a 30-year public service career, and 5 years of that, I was a government regulator. I'm very familiar with the CEQA project. And I've monitored this as it goes along, and you can always find problems within any document of that size. This one seems, from many that I've been familiar with, looks to be quite a quality document. I'd like to just mention, when I bought my house, 1999, I saw Pleasant Valley School there. Nobody gave me any guarantees that nothing was going to change at that school. And things have changed. The enrollment has gone up dramatically. The PA system at the baseball field was repaired. And about 3 years ago, they put in a PA system so the kids could go out and exercise every morning. And the neighborhood was in an uproar. It was the end of our neighborhood as we knew it. And fortunately, there was enough people that said, hey, do you see the kids out there exercising? That's a good thing. Yeah, it might be a little pain to hear it every once in a while, but look at what a good thing's happening. The roar subsided, and right now I defy you to go find anybody who will say it's bothering them. And I didn't even notice, I basically don't even notice it anymore until I was reading some issues about this particular issue coming back to the world.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm not a Verizon guy. First of all, thanks for taking the time to listen to everybody's comments. My wife spoke earlier,
yeah,
so
I didn't realize that.
yeah,
Thank you.
unless you want to give her another 3 minutes. No. All right. So to Mr. Parker's point, who spoke earlier just before me, he mentioned that he lives next door across from Pleasant Valley. I live right next to San Ramon. It's in my backyard, and all of the neighbors there actually enjoy all the music and the kids exercising, and it's to start your way with athletics. And there's been no objection from our community near San Ramon around that noise. So we enjoy that. A couple of points brought up earlier. Mr. Chastain talked about the exemptions that you all took, and I know you all voted in favor of it unanimously. Mind you, that government code exemption, I think you know, it does not exempt you from ordinances for non-classroom projects. Arguably, the football field is or is not a classroom. That's something that is arguable. The need for more practice time. What about spending some of this money on a new field for San Ramon? Put some synthetic turf over there, and you could walk the kids across the street, and they could have virtually as much field time as they want. There's nobody over there in the afternoons. Okay, a few other points. The final EIR lists a primary objective of the project to provide extended availability of the athletic fields to improve academic performance by minimizing early class dismissal and missed instructional time for student athletes. This objective presumes that the current performance is subpar, even though there is no data within the EIR to support this assertion. In fact, data gleaned from the California Department of Education shows a very different picture. Marin County as a whole has the highest graduation rate of all 9 Bay Area counties. Within Marin, the graduation rate is highest among schools that do not have lights. In fact, Tamales and San Rafael with lights rank at the bottom end of the scale. When you drill down a little deeper, the aggregate SAT reasoning scores are lowest amongst the 2 schools with lights. Generally, high schools without lights do better. Is there a nexus? More research is needed to reduce the variability. That said, you must use good data to drive your decision-making process. It cannot be made on hearsay and assumption. The final EIR addresses the impact that the lights would have on nearby residential dwellings. The classification of the area around San Marin is E3. It is allowable to have 10,000 candelas in an E3 designation. Unfortunately, the designations are assigned by census tract. You've been already detailed on what E1, E2, and E3 is. If your area is not E1 or E2, it's automatically classified as E3, which is urban. San Marin is classified in the same way as San Francisco and Oakland. There is no true suburban classification. And I'll sum it up. It's your job to identify and note those idiosyncrasies. You have to drive down to the details. And the very last thing I want to say is that the residents of the San Marin community have been good neighbors for many years. We ask the trustees show empathy for those that live in the neighborhood in the same way that they ask their students to practice this character as identified in the graduate profile that you approved last year. What better way to lead than by example? Thank you.
Okay, the next 3 is Karen Fremantle, Harry Hughes, and Nick Gooden.
Hi, my name is Dominic Mancuso.
Oh, hold on, Dominic. I didn't call your name, so.
You
Did I
didn't?
call you? Yeah, I said Karen Fremantle first. So can you just hold off for just a second? You were close. She left. Okay, thank you. So then I have Harry Hughes.
Hi, my name is Harry Hughes. The following schools in Napa County have lights: American Canyon High School, Calistoga High School, Justin Siena High School, Napa High School, St. Helena High School, Vintage High School. That's 100% of public high schools with sport programs in Napa County. Have you been to Napa County and seen how beautiful it is there? That's right up the highway from here. Their communities make it work. Why can't ours?
Are you Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nick. The following schools in Solano County have lights. Benaniche High School, Dixon High School, Angelina Rodriguez High School, Armijo High School, Fairfield High School, Chesapeake High School, Rio Vista High School, Vacaville High School, Vallejo High School, Vanden High School, Will C. Wood High School. That's 100% of public high schools with support programs in Solano County. Their communities make it work. Why can't ours?
Okay, Dominic, you are up next. So Dominic's next. And then I have Matt Giammi, Jimmy Hughes, and Michael Giammi. And if I've misspelled your last name, just come up and say it when you come up.
Hi, my name is Dominic Mancuso, and the following schools in Alameda County have lights: Alameda High School, Encinal High School, Albany High School, Berkeley High School, Castro Valley High School, Dublin High School, American High School, Irvington High School, John F. Kennedy High School, Mission San Jose High School, Washington High School, Hayward High School, Mount Eden High School, Sunset High School, Tennyson High School, Granada High School, Livermore High School, James Logan High School, Newark Memorial High School, Castlemont High School, McClymonds High School, Oakland High School, Oakland Tech High School, Skyline High School, Piedmont High School, Amador Valley High School, Foothill High School, Horizon High School, and San Leonardo High School. That's 95% of public high schools with sports programs in Alameda County. These schools are right down the highway from here. Their communities make it work with the schools. Why can't ours?
Hi, my name is Matthew Giomi. The following schools in Sonoma County have lights: Annalee High School, Costa Grande High School, Cloverdale High School, El Molino High School, Elsa Allen High School, Healdsburg High School, Marina Calero High School, Montgomery High School, Petaluma High School, Pioneer High School, Rancho Cotati High School, Santa Rosa High School, Sonoma Valley High School, and Windsor High School. Those schools are just up the highway from here. That's 100% of public high schools with sports programs in Sonoma County. Their communities made it work. Why can't ours?
Hi, my name is Jimmy Hughes. The following schools in Lake County have lights: Clear Lake High School, Kelseyville High School, Lower Lake High School, Middletown High School. That's 80% of the public high schools with sports programs in Lake County. Their communities make it work. Why can't ours?
Hi, my name is Michael Giomi. The following schools in Contra Costa County have lights: Acalanes High School, Camp Polindo High School, Las Lomas High School, Marymount High School, Antioch High School, Deer Valley High School, John Sweat High School, Clayton Valley High School, College Park High School, Concord High School, Mount Diablo High School, Northgate High School,
Ignacio Valley.
Ignacio Valley High School, El Surtio High School, Hercules High School, Kennedy High School, Pinole Valley High School, Richmond High School, Alhambra High School, California High School, Doherty Valley High School, Freedom High School, Heritage High School, Liberty High School, Mount Vista High School, Pittsburgh High School, San Ramon Valley High School. That's 100% of public high schools with sport programs in Contra Costa County. Their communities make it work with their schools. Why can't ours?
Okay, the next three, I have Lisa Schaeffer, and I have a Jeremy, but the last name is real scribbled. I apologize. So if there's a Jeremy out there, you're next. And then Tyler Guin? G-U-I-N. Gwyn, excuse me. So that person I have, first one was Lisa. Okay.
Hi, I'm Lisa Schaeffer, and thanks so much for letting us talk tonight. So I've lived on San Marin Drive for 25 years, and I was a school teacher for 8 years, and I'm a youth development professional who works with over 400 kids ages 8 to 17 each summer. I'm a parent of 2 sons who are currently a senior and a freshman at San Marin High School. My initial reason for being here was my exasperation when my oldest son was a sophomore and joined the soccer team and left school for about an hour and 20 minutes every single week for most of that season and missed a class that he was a bit challenged, and I couldn't understand why in the world he would have to leave school at whatever time it was, 12:45 or something. But then I came to understand that it was because the field doesn't have lights, and that's what drove that decision. So that was my major concern. After being here tonight, though, I'm fascinated by the discussion, and I have to say, although I have huge respect for the neighbors and their concerns, some of these neighbors are very dear friends. I'm a bit saddened by the lack of support for a very few neighbors who are opposed. There's no doubt in my mind that there are hundreds and hundreds in favor. The school community certainly is by the majority, from my understanding with many conversations. There's no doubt in my mind that these lights will benefit the community at large. Drawing people out of their homes and away from their screens in the evening is always a good thing. When those people are coming together, in a healthy pursuit, doing something fun as a community. And if the lights are off by 8:30 on game nights, which is sort of the latest estimate for a typical game, with all due respect to the neighbor who was wearing the cool T-shirt, he will have several hours to watch the Milky Way after those lights are off. We don't live in a convalescent community. We live in a vibrant community full of families and athletes and neighbors who are sort of desperate, really. From my experience here, to have fun opportunities to get together outside in the neighborhood. And although I certainly do respect some of the concerns, and those are certainly legitimate, I think that by and large, there's no doubt in my mind that this is of huge benefit to our community. So I would ask you to please approve this EIR and get these lights installed just as soon as possible. Thank you.
Jeremy? Yeah, thanks. You could state your last name, that'd be great.
Jeremy Altman, it's A-L-T-M-A-N. I live with my family with 3 boys on San Ramon Way. Our property backs up directly to the San Marin fields. We, as a family, are in favor of the lights, and I think a lot of the points that people made here today, I would just be reiterating. But it's I've come from a community that had lights on a field in a residential area. That's how I grew up, and those lights, if I remember correctly, it was 25 years ago, went till 10 p.m. And what that offered the community and the children was a safe place to be kids, to be active, to socialize, and really, support their community in many different ways. And I think some of the points that were brought up earlier about how this really brings the community together, that can't be understated, of what this really potentially can bring to Novato, with such a large community, with very successful and active schools, including the sports programs. I really only see a potential upside for these lights. I look forward to the opportunity to sit down with my neighbors, my fellow Nevadans, and enjoy a very safe and productive and entertaining evening, cheering on and supporting our kids and each other. That's what it really comes down to. There will be a lot of benefit even beyond the sports families, and the support and the growth of the community that, quite honestly, is probably not as strong as people would hope or would want it to be at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyler? Yeah. And then the next 3 is Nani Coyle, JP Perino, and Tony Francescanini. And I probably butchered that. I apologize.
My name is Tyler Gwynn, and I'm a freshman at San Bernardino High School. This will be my 8th year of football, second at the high school. And here are the remaining counties in Northern California and the percentages of public high school with lights. Alpine County at 100%, Amador County 100%, Butte County 100%, Calaveras County 100%, Del Norte County 100%, El Dorado County 100%, Fresno County 95%, Glenn County 80%, Humboldt County 80%, Lassen County 75%, Merced County 100%, Mendocino County 90%, Mono County 100%, Monterey County 94%, Placer County 92%, Plumas County 100%, Sacramento County 93%, San Joaquin County 100%, San Mateo County 88%, Santa Clara County 93%, Siskiyou County 70%, Santa Solus County 100%, Sutter County 100%, Tehama County 100%, Tulare County 100%, Yolo County 100%, Yuba County 100%, and of course Marin County, including Tamaulipas, 25%. So please, we need these lights just like all these other schools have. Thank you.
A little all over.
Is it me?
That's fine. I had Nani Coyle.
Yeah, I don't think Nani's here.
Nani left. Okay. So then I had JP Perino. It's okay if we're a little out.
Yeah, that's all right. Thanks for listening to us. So I've been a San Marin resident for 30 years. I have voted for all the school bonds that come up in the community. And I'm not oppositional to what we're talking about here for kids to be more engaged in sports, but I am concerned about the EIR and some of the flaws that are apparent in it. And I'm concerned because I live 15 houses from San Marin. The intersection that I leave my home at is the intersection that was not included in the traffic survey. So, you know, we don't have renderings of the towers and how the towers with the lights will affect the community. I'm concerned about the biological resources. I just think that the EIR has some flaws. I think it should be sent back to include the issues with the biological resources, the traffic, and the lighting in terms of renderings and photogenics that we just don't have. So anyway, thank you for listening. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Let me just read off the next three before you begin. Tim Erickson, Mary Spillard, and, I'm sorry, Keikoa, Kekoa Hansen is the last name. Those are the next three. Hi, Tony.
Hey, first off, I want to thank you guys. I mean, honestly, I think this is uncharted waters for Novato Unified, and I think for anybody in Marin County. I thank you, I think from all the parents that I'm involved with, for doing this for our kids, having a little vision and trying to figure out how to get through these issues. No, I mean, no matter what is being said around here at this point in time, I've been involved in this process. I believe it began pretty much in earnest in January of 2016. So a year and a half to me, even more. You've done a great job. You've gone above and beyond that's required by state law. So I applaud you guys for that. You know, there's a couple questions here. I wasn't going to go to some of these points. There was a point made about the lights and how we came up with the numbers and everything. I don't think whoever was talking about that, what was said was we took out all the alternative schools, the Catholic schools that had, the alternative schools that had no sports programs, got rid of them, got rid of the Catholic schools, went strictly to public schools. Okay? That's how we got to the 897. I think you go to Wikipedia, you can do a quick count. It's really easy. It's not that hard. So, funding, that was brought up here. I'm involved with all that. I'm involved with boosters heavily. I think some of you have been up there to San Marin High School. We put a lot of time and money up there already. We're ready to go for this. We're going to take a part in this, and you got our pledge that we're going to pay our part. So I think lastly, you know, I think we all went to Hillsdale High School. And I'm not this photometrics guy. I'm not, you know, I don't know all these numbers they're all talking about. But I'll just tell you, we were all there. We all heard the PA. We all heard the lights. Us. And a few of my boosters, friends, and a couple of these people. I mean, they had a real chance to see what was going on there, what was getting put at San Marin High School. They didn't take advantage of it. All right, I'm hearing no one's seen renderings. No one's seen photometrics. Our group spent $10,000 to create them. We had 3 separate meetings with these guys. They didn't take any of them. They didn't want to see them. So to take that at face value, I'm sorry. They had the opportunity. I know they're not gospel, but it showed you a heck of a lot more than that drawing that Save San Marin Coalition's going around with. That's an absolute farce. So it really, that's a real tough one to take there when I hear they didn't have opportunities. Anyway, thank you very much, and let's get the lights.
Good evening. My name is Tim Erickson. I have lived across from the high school for 22 years. When we moved in there, we understood we were, can everybody hear me okay? I understood that we were moving in near a high school. Didn't have a problem with that. Still don't have a problem with that. Even when, after the present sporting events happen, and there is trash to be picked up, and that's one thing that's not been addressed. When the event is over, it's as though there's a magic wand going to be wiped and everything's going to be still and quiet. That's not going to happen. It doesn't happen right now. And now you're talking about doing it and having the access to do it 5 nights a week, during the weeknights, let alone weekends. The noise level right now, and I'm not, once again, I'm not talking about during the event. I understand there's going to be games. That actually doesn't bother me. The noise level afterwards, trying to sleep. I don't know, right now I am woken up sometimes at night because there's young people having a good time. When I was a kid, I had a good time too. But we had a term when we were kids. It was like, hey, be cool. You know, keep it down. That doesn't exist anymore. So my concern is not during the event, it's the hours after. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Spillard. I have a concern. I live at Sandy Creek Way and Novato, and it is pitch black on my street. There has been a death there. The traffic has not been addressed. The street lights have not been addressed. I understand that you're talking about 8 o'clock or 8:30, but in the EIR it says 9:45, and it can be extended. We're talking pitch black at my home. That street is 45 miles an hour at Sandy Creek Way and Novato. It is pitch black. That is very scary for all of these kids here. It shouldn't be acceptable, and it should be addressed in that EIR. Thank you.
Hey, Glenn. Oh, can you help him with the microphone?
Say your name. I'm Keiko, and I live on San Carlos Way near the high school. I don't want the lights because it will affect a lot of animals like bats, owls, and other birds. I also don't like how cars speed down my street. and I don't want the big towering lights to block my view of the pretty hills. Thank you.
Alex Howtow, and I apologize, Willie Sestorello, and Cade Francescanini. Sorry about your last name.
That's okay. My name is Alex Hata, a longtime resident of San Marin. Lived here since 1978. Currently, I reside about a quarter mile from San Marin High School. I'm for the lights. I understand a lot of the concerns that people do have here, but you know, I've thought about how there's so many things that I could say. But I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the positives really outweigh the negatives here. And again, I'm not dismissing people, the concerns that they have. I think some of them are legitimate concerns. But, you know, my wife is from Portland, Oregon, and when she comes down here, she just can't believe, she says, you know, having gone to a high school with lights, she said to me so many times, it was such a great experience for her and her family and her community. And yeah, I'm absolutely for this. I think it would be a great place, and it sounds like, after hearing the report, it's a dozen nights a year. So again, I think the impact, the negative impact, is far less than the advantages this will bring to the community of San Marin and Nevada. Thanks.
Hello. My name is Willie Testarolo, and I'm a junior at San Marin High School, and I'm a varsity football and baseball player. And I think it would be great to get the lights put up because it would bring many family and friends together. Many students choose to not attend the games because they're in the middle of the day and it is very hot, which makes families not want to bring their children and relatives. I feel if we had lights, much of the younger generation would attend, which would make them a fan of the school, and many of the times the children would look forward to attending that school. Not only will the lights improve the sports atmosphere, it will improve the school atmosphere as well, giving students something to look forward to. It is hard to say for others, but personally I dream of playing under the lights, and if we had them, I feel many kids would like to be a part of that, which would make the teams have more players. Not only will having more players on the team give it a better chance of winning, it will make the kids work harder to play. This will teach the kids to have a work ethic and practice, which will carry on with them in their college and their adult lives. I realize that sporting events tend to be loud, considering that you choose to live near a high school, which has been here since 1968. You must be aware of the events they host and the noise resulting from them. There will be only 9 home football games that will last until 9:30 p.m. on a Friday night, so this will not be a weekly occurrence. The noise will still be there no matter what time of the day the team is playing. During football season, the freshmen begin playing at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and the varsity game isn't finished till around 4 or 5 p.m. That is 8 hours of constant noise rather than around 3 hours on a Thursday night and 6 hours at the most on a Friday night. Keep in mind, this is only 9 times a year. The sound comes from the PA system, announcing players in some plays. The new state-of-the-art PA system will be an improvement and reduce the loudspeaker noise, causing less of an impact. A point was made about teens doing drugs and drinking before the game, during, or after, which is not a legitimate complaint because many of the students are not going to attend something under the influence when they are surrounded by many administrators, teachers, families, and young children. Putting the lights up at San Marin would be nothing but a plus for the school and the community. Thank you.
Check. All right. Hello, my name is Caden Franceschini. I'm a junior at San Marin High School, and I play for the varsity baseball and football team. Lights on the field would mean a lot to me because it would bring out more family and friends. And all students ever dream for is to play under the lights and be able to have the same opportunity as the other 813 or 91% of public schools in California that have lights. I watched a video from the last meeting and heard that people were worried about the wildlife around the school being endangered if we put in lights, and I'm here to address that issue of wildlife impact from lights on the field. The San Marin field is already a disturbed area for wildlife and has been since 1968. The lights will not cause any increase in the amount of land that is impacted. The addition of lights will not change the fact something that actually would disturb wildlife is building a new stadium in an area that wildlife already inhabits, unlike our field. Building a brand new stadium in O'Hare Park or at IVC, which has been suggested previously at these meetings, will have a much greater disturbance to wildlife than just adding lights to the San Marin football field. If you truly care about wildlife, lights at the San Marin football field would be the most ecologically friendly choice versus building a brand new stadium somewhere else. So please make the right choice and let us have lights.
Okay, we are down to the last four, so I'm just going to rattle those off. David Culbertson, Mike Jolly, Zach Griggy, Mike Kelly. That would be our last speaker, would be Mike Kelly. Yep, come right up.
Thank you, Board, and thank you for everybody being here tonight. I do want to commend the coaches and the teachers at San Marin for bringing the students here tonight, and for the students, I commend you for being here as well. I appreciate your input because we do care about you in the community. I have 2 children as well. They go to San Ramon, and there was one lady that commented a minute ago about needing the lights to draw their children outdoors. I would encourage you to walk up Mount Burdell. I think I've probably caught 400 blue-bellied lizards, and we call turkeys all the time up there. It reminds me of being back home in the South where I grew up. We had lights, too, for football because it happens to be pretty big in the South, too, but it was 20 miles outside of town. We didn't allow it in residential areas. The EIR is faulty on multiple levels. It was incomplete at LT2. LT1 was selection bias, and there were no samples taken on Sandy Creek Way. It shows a disregard for the wildlife. If anybody knows anything about wildlife, there are a lot of nocturnal animals. They don't get up and hang out around the football during the daytime. They do it at night. So the lights are going to disturb them. There are a lot of wildlife there. And it also admits the inability to mitigate the noise, which I think a lot of people have spoken about already, so I won't get into that. I think the real thing that I'm concerned about hearing tonight is a lack of critical thinking in this room. Needs versus wants is basic critical thinking in economics 101. A want is something I would like to have, but without, I will still survive. A need is something that if I don't have, I will not survive. And in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, physiologic needs, health, then safety, always trump a want. When a party's wants are in conflict with another party's basic needs, the wants in the other party is always morally wrong. A case in point is the legality of laws in the Compromise of 1850, Jim Crow in the South. Legal right does not always equal moral right. So the question should stay whether the conflict comes from a want of lights for entertainment versus physiologic needs for peace, health, and safety of that neighborhood. Now, NUSD has a statement on bullying. I won't get into it completely by reading the whole thing, but I think with the way this whole process has gone, I think we're really on the precipice of demonstrating bullying, legal bullying, to a lot of members of the community. My biggest concern is demonstrating to the students that are present and in the high schools tonight that a want and achieving a want is greater than achieving needs of people around you. That lack of compassion is going to disrupt this community, and I don't want to see that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Jolly. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. 5 bigger high schools in Marin all accommodate the MCAL rules. They do everything, and they don't need lights. They've never asked for lights. They don't want them. Why can't San Marin? Of course they can. They do it now by fielding all their teams. Okay, there's no need for the lights. There's just a want, and we get it. Our opposition group, and I wear a San Marin shirt too because I've, basically been a neighbor for 34 years. I love the school. This isn't about the school or the kids. This is about the overall community and the impact on the total community, okay? We get it that it's fun. We've asked, And quite honestly, our civic leaders have let us all down. A decade ago, before this council and all of our councils, neighbor opposition to at Novato High School and San Marin was manifest. They didn't want the lights for obvious reasons of quality of life. For 10 years, our community did nothing. Now, with Novato High School saying they don't want the lights, they want to be a good neighbor, and Jim has confirmed that he doesn't want to put the lights there, okay? San Marin High School is being asked to take the entire burden, okay? And we think, basically, that's too much for a community to bear. If the project objectives outlined in this EIR are really true, then how can we deny Novato High School's larger student population those project objectives? It doesn't make sense. People aren't thinking. They're reacting, okay? And I respect that, but it's not the best way to make decisions for a community. Marin Catholic, last Thursday, pulled their application for the exact same stadium project. That was the result of proper civic oversight, okay, by the county. The city of Novato has refused to put lights at Hill Development because they don't belong there. They're going to hurt a community. Why can't, basically, if Marin Catholic is being turned down for the same process only because of a quirk in the exemption laws of the state, are public schools allowed to usurp land use and basically force issues like this on a community that does not want it? No one lives at San Marin High School. No one lives there. It's a use facility, a wonderful use facility, but a use facility. We live in that community 24/7, 365. We're going to see 80-foot light towers. We're going to have our lives radically altered. Please be empathic. Please understand that we teach our students, we reach one another by touching one another and being empathic. There is no need for the lights.
I had a Zach Griggy? Okay, he's not here. Mike Kelly. And then Maureen Cook. And that is the final blue card for the evening.
Hi, my name is Mike Kelly. I'm a recent resident on Sandy Creek Drive. I became involved in this whole issue basically because my sister and brother-in-law, who lived here for almost 30 years, are very involved in it. And I started going to the meetings at the high school, and I just seemed to relate to my brother-in-law and sister, what they had to say, and not supporting the lights at San Marin High School. The thing that came up for me recently in doing some handouts for the Save the San Marin was going to various houses surrounding the high school, up San Andreas, all the condominiums there, along San Marin Drive, and talking to people as I was giving out these flyers. And I was appalled at the lack of information that these people had. A lot of people weren't even aware that the high school was going to have lights in the first place. Second of all, if they were aware, they thought it was just Friday nights during football season. So I found that very interesting. I myself was a coach at in Sonoma, where I've lived for over 20 years. We have a lit field called Alberts Field. It has very minimal impact on the community. It is off in a location where there's very little housing around it, and I support sports. I mean, being a coach, I understand the benefits of sports. I also understand the benefits of not negatively impacting your neighbors, and that's my point.
Maureen Cook.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm a resident of Novato. I have 3 children that attend schools here in Novato. And I thank all of you for your work, not just on the lights, but on all of what you do for our students. I've seen some wonderful changes over the past few years, and I'm very proud to have my children in the NUSD. I could pick apart the EIR. I could say, why San Marin? Why not poor Novato High? I could listen to fears and concerns, and I've heard them all, and I feel for people who are afraid of the unknown and what's going to happen in their backyard. But I know that sometimes it's the only time at a sporting event that I get to meet a parent whose child is in the same classroom as mine. And oftentimes that parent is someone who I would never have come across in any other part of my life here in Novato. Oftentimes, whether they're Spanish speaking or English is their first language, we get together on that field, and it brings together a real diverse community of Novato. And I would think I have not heard that from anyone here tonight in saying it is a community builder, and it brings people together that otherwise would not be together. And what I'm asking you to do tonight is listen to the children that came up here tonight. As a community, let's try to make this work. Thank you.
Okay, I had one more trickle in, and then this is it. We'll be closing the comment period. So, Mark Green, you are the last and final speaker for this evening.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mark Green, I'm a resident at 15 Pepper Creek in the Novato Chase Homeowner Association area. I've been there about 2 years, come from Petaluma, where I lived 20 years, and I think having the lights is an outstanding project. They should put it in. Having lived close to Casa Grande High School, could hear the roar of the crowd, enjoyed every minute. If I wasn't attending the games, I could sit out on my front deck or front driveway and listen and hear, oh, something happened, something good happened, something bad. Enjoyed it a lot. Having gone to Terra Linda High School here in Marin, we got to benefit from playing at San Rafael High. And I know every one of us looked forward to playing on those Friday nights in front of our family, where some maybe worked on Saturdays and couldn't make it out to the games to attend their kids' games on the weekend. As for night games, the parents don't have to miss work, kids don't have to miss school. That's a positive for everybody, I think. So thank you for your time. Such dedication is great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that does conclude the public comment period. And first, before I bring it back to the board, thank you for being respectful to everybody. I appreciate it very much. It made it go smoothly, and we moved through it, and everybody had their opinion. We're able to speak, so thank you. So now we'll bring it back to the board for further questions with our presenters, or for anybody, or really our presenters, really. So who would like to start? Anybody? Anybody have any questions, comments? Trustee Aguila.
I was wondering about the EIR, if either our superintendent can talk about is it a final document? Is it written in stone where we can tweak it or change it at all, or is there going to be opportunities, or are there ways that we can make it work? And change or fix some things that might need fixing, or any changes like that.
So what's in the EIR, as Dennis mentioned, the athletic director, those are the maximum amounts that can be in there. And so we have to adhere to those. And while there might be some slight adjustments to that, that really is the maximum number of games and times and things like that, with a little bit of leeway. So what we're working on with the neighbors, with our third community meeting coming up on Thursday, is to put some limits and some safeguards on that. So we're trying to see, we've already made some compromises in terms of starting earlier. Last week we had the police chief and Bill Welch, who's director of North Bay Security, talked about safety plans and the use of police in the neighborhood and how we would use north-based security. We did discuss trash. So those kind of plans that have to do with making, some limitations on in terms of the times earlier, safety, who to contact if there's a problem. Those are the kinds of things that we will put in our administrative regulations. So if you guys don't know, that's really how the district does business, is right, is through board policies and administrative regulations. So that's how we conduct the business. So the EIR, those numbers in there, those have to be adhered to, but the ARs can be more limiting, and that's what we're working on with our last meeting on Thursday.
And thank you. And again, the numbers are conservative, meaning this is, again, worst case scenario. Is that correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody? Well, otherwise, we'll move on to the next presentation, which is the discussion action item. It's up to you. I just want since you've heard the comment, I want to bring it back to the board and have an opportunity to ask any further clarification.
So we
Let me just ask Trustee Cooper, hold on.
Yep.
Trustee Cooper, are you still there?
Still here.
Okay. Wake up from your nap? No. Do you have any clarifying or comments?
No clarifying comments right at this point.
Okay, thank you. And Trustee Miller, you had a comment.
So just to be clear, so I understand where we are. We're on discussion item 12. We did A through H. Those
Correct.
were our presenters. We made up item I, which was the public comment is item 13.
Right.
Right, we did that. And now we're
Now
so
we're
if
gonna go to
we've done with
14.
public comment, we would move to item 14, which is the certification of the environmental impact report, and the board would discuss under that item.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it back after the public. So let's move on to item 14A. This is our discussion action item, the final item for the evening, certification of the environmental impact report for the San Marin Stadium Light Project. And I will turn it over to Superintendent Hogaboom.
Thank you, Trustee Butler. So the only thing I will bring is a recommendation of myself and staff that the board certifies with regard to the EIR, that it, 1, complies with CEQA per 14 California Code regs, 2, reflects the lead agency's independent judgment and analysis per 14 California Code regs, and 3, was presented to the decision-making body. So again, this is just to approve the environmental impact report. That's completely distinct from your decision if that comes up on the 30th, which is whether you want to approve the lights. This has to do with whether we followed the legal requirements of the CEQA. You heard our attorney's advice that this CEQA does meet the legal requirements, and it meets the purpose of CEQA in the environmental impact report. There are mitigations that need to be done. One of those is so if the board approves this, we will look at the ARs next time. We'll look at the costs next time, any of those other kinds of questions. But there are some mitigations that would need to take place even if the board does approve this for final approval. One of those is that we do a full design, figure out what the design of the project would look like. We would do a full photometric study. That photometric study would have to show that we are within the limits of the environmental impact report of the candelas and the candles, those two measurements. Those have to be within the limits in the EIR. The mitigation also recommends that we hire a paleontologist and get their recommendation, and also a program manager that's basically an archaeologist. And so those things have to be done along the way. So, we will bring back reports to you as those things get done. So it's not like it's a done deal. Again, the last meeting with our community will be on Thursday to get any final recommendations that we can work with them on to try to mitigate the effects on the community. So with that, my recommendation is that the board certify the EIR tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, comments? Trustee Miller.
I want to pick up where the conversation we started earlier, which was the criteria for E2 or E3, and that significantly impacts the criteria for what would require mitigation or not mitigation. And I mean, that is a big conversation. It's a big impact with a little point, and we had a little explanation earlier, but
Would you like Abe to come back up?
Yeah, I think I'm one of these people know they're the right person to speak to, and I don't know.
No.
Okay, there you go.
that on a timer?
No, there's somebody, I've done that before myself. I know exactly what happened. So, Avia, could you speak to that? Because it has a significant consequence.
Thank you, Madam Vice President and board members. I'm going to give it a shot, and I have my colleague Matthew Long here who knows a lot about the subject as well. So let me step back a little bit from what I said before to give some context. So when you evaluate an impact under CEQA, typically the methodology is to look at, for a physical impact, what's there now, what's proposed to happen, and what would be the impact afterwards. So in order to do that, you need to set a baseline or a existing condition. And in the case of lights, we chose this CIE zone, which the commenters, several of them were familiar with as well, and I think it's an international standard. And there's several different levels. E1 is national park, you're out in the middle of Yellowstone. E2 is rural residential on the edge or outside of urban areas. E3 is a more urban residential zone, and then E4 is like a full-on big city environment. In looking at those different categories and looking closely at the project site and its surroundings, we determined that E3 was the correct lighting zone. We looked at E2, and it's not a massive distinction between the two, but one of the key phrases, and there's a number of different descriptors for the different zones. One of the key phrases, and this is what I mentioned before, is rural residential, which is actually a fairly specific and common planning term that refers to a certain land use type. And they're typically rural lots, residential lots of 5 to 40 acres, depending on where you are and what the agricultural viability is, without getting into all those details. And again, you have an example near you to the west of where there aren't 4-lane arterial roads with street lights, and there aren't shopping centers and smaller lot single-family developments around. That's E3. E2 is out in the rural residential, where it's not national park, but it's not the kind of environment that we are looking at in this EIR.
So, if I said, I mean, you guys have done this work, but I'm saying, okay, well, can you be more specific? Because if we're going to sit here in the next hour, we're going to vote in favor of this or not. And while there was lots of considerations that I heard about the EIR, my personal, me one of 7, would say, well, if we're measuring against the wrong target environment, it's one thing to say, well, I want to build a football field, but I want it more rural than everything around it. That would be E1, and that'd never happen. That's just But if you've misstated it, you basically give yourself a bye on meeting the community standards. So I'm trying. Is there some written? I guess the net of it is it comes down to candelas or whatever the measure is. What criteria do you have to meet to meet the criterion? And so that's what I'm struggling because we're having a tough meeting if you haven't figured it out.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
I don't believe the criteria for the zone is candelas. It's more of a land use and ambient lighting. What is out in the area now in terms of existing lighting and land use? So as your attorney said before, there's different opinions on many of these factual, there's different evidence that you're going to hear on many of the points in EIR, and as other people said, it can go on forever. We feel that after looking at the different lighting zones, based on the ambient lighting and land use surrounding the high school, E3 was the correct lighting zone, and E2 referred to a lighting zone that had lower levels of existing ambient light.
I'm going to ask you a not very fair question. Do you think Alameda or Encinal would have been an E3 as well in the middle of an urban community, or would that be E4?
I don't know.
Okay,
like
I said,
one
it
or the
wasn't
other.
a fair question.
It is a fair question. It could be one or the other. Yeah, we have to look a little more closely at it, like we did at this site.
Thank you for your.
And do you want to add? No.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions, comments from the board? Yep, Trustee Nell.
There was a lot of comment about traffic and intersections tonight, and I was just wondering if you could help delineate the difference between what's in the IRR, its purpose around traffic, versus the kinds of things that are concerns and could or may be addressed through other means, but specifically, how is traffic addressed in the ERR?
If it's okay, I'm going to call up one of our team members from our traffic sub-consultant from DKS, and he can talk a little bit more about that.
Great.
Madam Vice President, board members, my name is Josh Pilichowski. Just to give you some credentials, I am a licensed traffic engineer in California, engineering degree, all that good stuff. I've been performing transportation analysis, TIAs, for 5-6 years of my entire career. I'll see if I can answer your question, and then we'll go from there. As to identifying what belongs in the EIR, what belongs in just sort of discussion, we choose study intersections based on partially professional opinion, but what intersections we think might be impacted by a project. For this specific project, intersections that were potentially considered were pretty much every signalized intersection where the majority of traffic would go through. And then any unsignalized intersections where we thought there might be a concern of major turning movements where there is a potential for an impact. Now, impacts are defined for intersections essentially by the average delay experienced by traffic at that intersection. For a signalized intersection or for an always stop intersection, it's going to be the average delay experienced. For an unsignalized intersection just with two-way or one-way stop control, that would be the worst delay experienced by someone on the side street who has to turn into that flow. I think the only question of intersections brought up was the one intersection located at the entrance of the school with the development right across from it. The reason that intersection was not included in the study is because there was no expectation of impact. Now, why is there no expectation of impact? Well, most of the traffic will be going to a parking lot. And there are parking lots, entrances located on either side of that intersection. So there's no expectation of, number one, people using that driveway to enter the school. And number two, any traffic that did pass by that intersection is uncontrolled. There's no stop sign for people traveling along San Marin or Novato. So mainly because of those two reasons, there's no expectation of any impact at that intersection, which is why we wouldn't include it.
That's inaccurate information.
So so following up and along your study, the delay, I get that, but is there some way that safety, traffic safety, comes into question as a result of our project that you would bring to our attention or point out as something that could or should be mitigated by lights, striping?
Not generally. The one time that safety really comes into play with these studies is when we're looking at the question of whether or not to signalize an intersection. And one of the criteria, one of the Caltrans warrants, is whether or not there have been 5 crashes at that location related to the control of that intersection. Now, obviously, this isn't a question for this project. So other than that, in terms of significant impacts and CEQA, there's not really any relevant safety issues.
I appreciate your explaining that aloud. Thank you.
Sure. Were there any more?
Anybody else? I'm missing 2 trustees. Is that?
They're at the restroom.
Yeah. Okay. Trustee Scott, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just curious, can somebody speak to, when we went and did the field trip down to San Mateo, can somebody tell me what was San Mateo's in terms of the E2, E3, and that candle power? Can somebody speak to that? I don't know if it's the same, something more, something less. I'm assuming it's the same, but I'd like to hear from you because
This is Matt Long from Rincon.
Thanks for introducing me, Madam Vice President. Rincon did prepare the EIR for San Mateo Union High School District and the 5 lighted stadiums down there. And to the best of my recall, they are also in Zone E3. That document is posted publicly, and I'd be happy to confirm that for you. But my memory serves me that they're also in E3. As Abe stated earlier, the lighting brightness zones are not based on numeric thresholds. So when you ask about candelas or foot candles, I assume you're asking about what the thresholds of significance were for San Mateo. And in that case, it was 10,000 candelas at the property line for glare and 0.8 foot candles at the nearest neighboring property line for light trespass.
can you say that in English?
In comparison to this project, the glare threshold is the same, 10,000 candelas, so no change to the glare threshold. And for the light trespass threshold, it's 2.0 foot candles for this project at district. It should be noted at district property lines, versus San Mateo was 0.8 foot candles at neighboring property lines. So in cases where the neighbors don't directly abut the school, you would see possible differences there. And all of you have Section 8 of the final EIR in front of you, and you'll see in the preliminary photometrics provided in the final EIR in Section 8 that light trespass measured in foot candles at neighboring property lines are approximately 0.0, 0.1, and maybe 0.2 in one location. So it doesn't really matter what threshold you use, whether you use San Mateo Union High School District's threshold or Novato Unified School District's threshold. Either way, the preliminarily predicted light trespass levels would be below either threshold.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so what we have before us is a recommendation. If there are no further questions, comments. Trustee Cooper, sorry. Just want to double check with you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you, President. I do have a couple questions. I think the first one is, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So my first question is probably for Abe with Rincon, and that's just if you could just confirm and tell me a little bit about the biological study and why that was not included. There were several comments about that, and then the other question I have is for Bryce.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Vice President and board members. So the comment, we heard a number of comments about biological resources. One was that a biological study is required by CEQA, which is not accurate. There needs to be information to support a conclusion on impacts regarding every issue area, including biological resources, but a study is not a CEQA term. It's not a CEQA requirement, and it's used when one is needed and not used when one is not. So in this particular instance, we had, as one I think the students mentioned, a disturbed site that's already been built out for 40, however many years, and there's no biological resources on the site. What there are is resources in the vicinity, including trees that could be used by birds. There's owl boxes, someone pointed out. There's a creek nearby, and we search a database that says what kind of species could occur in these areas, and then we go through that database list and see, well, based on the project and what is proposed, could there be impacts to those species? And the conclusion in the initial study as originally circulated was, no, there wouldn't be significant impacts. And commenters, we thought that was a good comment there, put a little more information to support that conclusion. And as you'll see in the final EIR, there are a couple of pages, 1, 2, 3 maybe pages of information, additional clarifying information to support that conclusion. And without going into all the details, because they're here on the page, but I can try if you'd like, based on a number of factors, including the fact that no habitat areas or physically on the ground biological resources would be disturbed, based on the kinds of animals that are around and their behaviors, based on the proposed duration and intensity of lighting and noise, we concluded and supported originally, but more so in the final EIR, that there would not be any significant impacts to those species. Mostly, as the commenters pointed out, the ones that we looked at were bats, birds, pretty much bats and birds, because they're the kind of migratory or species in motion that could be affected by a lighting project.
Did that answer your question, Tom? Or
it does. Thank you very much. There were just several questions and comments brought up about that, so I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. Derek, and Debbie, my last question is for Bryce. And Bryce, I think one of the sorry?
No, he's up.
I'm standing ready, sir.
Ready.
Okay. Hey, Bryce. So there was a comment about something to the effect that NUSD is not exempt from government oversight for non-classroom activities. Do you recall that comment? And if so, could you just kind of talk to that?
Yes. So the basic rule is that any kind of classroom facilities can be exempted. Classroom facilities is generally broadly viewed as any kind of a portion of your facility that is used in your educational program, and the understanding is that this field is utilized in some measure for the educational program. So in the one California Court of Appeal case that looked at this, the Santa Cruz case, the court said exactly that. If you use that as part of your educational curriculum for PE, whatnot, whether you're also using it at other times for different programs, it is still a classroom facility that you are able to exempt. You have to be able to exempt it to be able to do what you need with it as a classroom facility, and you don't sort of back the facility back out of the category because it's also used for other purposes. That's the best legal authority we have on the question.
So let me take it one step further. So if we're so I'm trying to connect the dots between the lights and the field. So if we use the field, which we do during the course of the day, and classes, and when we're having sports at night, which the field lights would benefit, are those two connected? So the games that happen at night, are those considered to be classroom activities?
No, and it's not necessary.
The field is clearly during the day, the field is used for that. But at night, that's the only time, so it's for sports, team sports, right?
No, understood. And the way that it works is if it is a classroom facility, it is subject to your ability to exempt the facility. It's not time dependent. There's not a portion of time for which it is exempt and a portion of time for which it is non-exempt because it's under a different use, for example, in the evenings. If it's a classroom facility, it is subject to exemption under the Santa Cruz case, and you don't try to back out, and there's a good reason for it, which is essentially this. If it's a classroom facility, you avail yourself of the law to have that flexibility that the legislature has granted you in being able to get out of local building ordinances so that you can do what you need to do for your curricular activities. You don't then reimpose any of those because it might also be used for another reason. Here's another parallel. It's common to take actual classroom buildings and make them available to community organizations during non-classroom hours. During those hours, those classroom facilities don't become unexempted because you still need to be able to use them as a classroom, make adaptations to them for uses as a classroom. So the exemption is applicable to any facility that is used for classroom purposes, and it is blanket. From once it's exempt, it's exempt. There's not a different activity that brings it back in.
Great. Thank you, Bryce, for the very clear explanation. And Debbie, that's it.
Yep, great. Thanks. That was great questions. Thank you. All right, so let's bring it back to the board. This is a discussion action item. Superintendent Hugboom presented and he read the recommendation. So if anybody would entertain a motion, I'd appreciate that. If there's no further, okay. Okay, this is, can you please read the recommendation? Just so it's clarified what we're.
The recommendation, superintendent and staff recommend that the board of trustees certify with regard to the EIR that it.
Can you turn your microphone on or speak right into it, please?
Want me to start over?
Sure.
Okay. The superintendent and staff recommend that the Board of Trustees certify with regard to the EIR that it, 1, complies with CEQA per 14 California Code Regs, ISO 90A1. 2, reflects the lead agency's independent judgment and analysis per 14 Code Regs, ISO 90A3. And, thirdly, was presented to the decision-making body which reviewed and considered the information in the final EAR before approving the project per California Code Regs ISO 90A2. And it looks like Bryce has a comment.
Sorry, it's not an S. It's not ISO. It's a 5 that is poorly printed on your copy. It's 150.
Yeah, so maybe restate
section.
that.
That little strange S-shaped thing is a section. Section 15090.
So bullet point 1 and bullet point 2 both have that. You said IS, it's 15.
Okay, yeah, it looks like an S. Sorry. All right. All right. Should I?
So as amended.
As amended, bullet point 1 should be Reg 15090A1. Bullet point 2 should be amended to say Regulation 15090A3. And bullet point 3 should say Regulation 15090A2.
Great.
Is
Thank
that
you so
right?
much.
Okay.
So I have a first by trustee Mack.
I will second the motion.
Okay, and a second by trustee Dahl. You know what? I'm going to take a roll call vote because I have trustee Cooper.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any comments before
I have a comment to offer.
Okay.
My concern about, I'm looking at the picture of the San Marin, the Google map of San Marin, and it is clear in this map that San Marin is surrounded by houses, but if you look at the row of houses, not the houses against San Marin, but right across the street.
What
back
page
up,
would that be so we could
that
just...
is all on page 19 of the EIR.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Oops, excuse me.
Yeah, let's probably just look at it. It's easier to see.
Okay, page 19, this is figure 3.
Yeah, so, right, and you see the picture of San Marin, and I actually drew a little blue line around it to clarify it. But to the north of that parcel, there's one row of houses against San Marin, and right across the street, that row of houses backs up to, I think, 10 miles of open space. It ends in Petaluma, I think. And on the west side of San Marin, there's a row of houses, one row against San Marin and the other row on the opposite side of the street back up to open space that goes to Tamales before it ends. So if I lived out there, I would be thinking that I'm in an E2 zone, not an E3 zone. But clearly San Marin is surrounded by houses. If I lived down on the road where San Marin Drive was and it's all houses, I would say that's clearly E3 by what I understand the rules were, which is a urban zoning rule, not a light spill rule. That's what I heard our attorneys advise. So given this is ambiguous, I'm going to vote against certifying because I think we ought to be looking at E2, not E3. I think that's I don't want to say a stretch. I think that's something that I wish we could have discussed months ago, but this is where we are. San Marin is clearly in the area, but we're going to end up with a split vote, and I know that's not exactly where we are, but that's what I'm going to do, and I just wanted to explain to my fellow board members why I will not certify it. I believe the rest of the EIR, the $200,000 and the tomb that's been produced is good work. I take everybody's professional comment that I've looked at, and they said they did a quality job. You can't ever have every answer, but because of this one concern, I'm going to be a negative vote on this item.
Appreciate you explaining that.
Yeah,
thank
you very much, Madam.
Okay, so I will take a roll call vote if there's no further. Oh, Trustee Nell.
I just think it's appropriate to thank everyone who came tonight
thank you for doing that.
and commented and spoke out and reiterated a lot of what has already been said. And there were some new comments tonight. This is a process that's been going on since the end of 2015. There's been countless numbers of public meetings and information available. We've done a lot to do as much as we possibly can to mitigate the impact of this educational improvement. Why I'm personally advocating support for the EIR. But I think it's important to thank everyone for participating in the process fully, and that's my comment.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking care of that. And for our presenters who were here to present the items, thank you very much. And please, when we do the vote, I still need you to stick around. Don't get up and leave. I need to ask you one more question, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Millerick?
No.
Trustee Aguila?
Yes.
Trustee Mack?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Nell?
Yes.
Trustee Cooper?
Yes.
And Trustee Butler is a yes. So that is a 6-1 vote in favor of the recommendation of certifying the EIR, the Environmental Impact Report.
It is approved.
That is approved, yes. Yes, thank you. Okay, so that concludes that. And so what I wanted to ask the trustees is we have that community meeting coming up here on Thursday. We've kind of alternated trustees going. Trustee Scott has expressed an interest in going, so I need 2 more who are interested. Trustee Cooper will not be back yet. So is anybody, 2 other trustees, we can have 3 there without violating. Okay, Trustee Aguila and Trustee Millerick. So we have our 3 trustees attending. If you cannot go, can you please call me, and then I will, since Trustee Cooper won't be back yet, I can find another person, and I'd be more than happy to go too as well. So, all right, so that concludes our meeting. So the 16th, and then May 30th is our next meeting, which will be decision on the stadium lights at San Marin. Meeting is adjourned.